You want to start talking about shoe considerations?
We got to give the most important question to David. People have been waiting the whole time for this.
Everyone's been waiting, 3 years of podcasting, whatever it is. This is the moment.
No, just this episode. But that probably
is
the
Super Bowl of questions.
It's a Super Bowl.
No. Question, I mean, you kind of hit on the head, I think, with looking at all of the other things, that there's not really a cookie cutter approach. I think if someone just tells you put a Hoka on, like, I don't know if I would jump right on that and listen without much other reasoning, attached to that. Not to say that it doesn't work for some people. It certainly does. But I think looking at why it's happening, looking at the impairments, let's say you are going through a wild range of motion and you need to decrease that range of motion. Maybe having something with a higher drop might actually be good. Like decrease the length that your ankle has to actually move through. That might actually make your foot better. And that has nothing to do with a rocker profile or a high stack. And that's just a simple static measurement. Like that's nothing, I get hesitant to just say like, go buy that shoe,
Yep. 100%.
And I think comfort's a huge part of it too, right? And you talked about it, like some discomfort's going to be normal. Like if you're at a 5 out of 10, like to me, that's pretty high. I don't know if I'd be rolling the dice on that, but still, like knowing that some discomfort is okay to some degree, right? Like if it's manageable, it's not getting worse, you're going day to day. If you like the shoes you're in, you can stay in the shoes you're in and work on the other things. I wouldn't just jump ship just because your foot hurts. It'd be like doing the same thing for a hamstring or a hip or a knee or your back. There's so many things that could be going on. And I know that's not the answer that our listeners probably want to hear,
right.
But for some people, maybe they want a little bit more cushioning. They want something a little bit higher up. And for them, if they like that sensation and they like that feeling, by all means, do it. Yep. If that's working for you, then do it. And there are some days where that's what I want, like my body just kind of tells me and I'm like, I don't know why, but this shoe is calling to me and I want to wear that shoe and I will wear that shoe.
Right.
And that's regardless of whatever we're testing, like I will break testing schedule for my own health,
Yep.
But yeah, there's no specific magic shoe for plantar fasciitis. I think that's probably just the point we got to drive home here.
Yes.
But yeah, what's up?
Can I add on that? Is that
go for it?
A lot of the suggestions that you'll hear, right? So David mentioned the classic ones. People will suggest high drop. They'll suggest a rocker shoe that's really common, and that might work. It also might be problematic. Some people, by having a higher heel drop, this is the Adrenaline 23. So if you have that and lift it up, the embargo's not. Oh, we're good. I promise. I lost my thought process. A higher heel might be better for some people because it shortens that tissue. For other people, it might increase the stress right in this area. So it may or may not work for you. The more maximalist, this is the only one I have right now. I know it's super dirty. A maximalist shoe, the increased cushioning or the forefoot rocker right here might unload it. But if that thing is too rockered and it's holding your foot and it toes an extension, that's actually going to increase the stress on the plantar fascia. That's actually a test called the windlass test where you yank the person's toe into extension and poke that area. If it hurts, it's positive. That's how you stress it. So I totally, and then it's the same thing with a lot of people go, oh, I need to go buy a support shoe. That might be helpful. That also might increase stress in that area. So I think going, hey, do I need a new shoe is probably the first question you really need to think about. Do I need to go spend a bunch of extra stuff, or do I need to address what's going on? Do I need to address the fact that I'm not sleeping, not eating very well, and I've got a condition where my body's not doing super hot and I haven't given it the environment to heal? Is it because my shoes are super old and worn down and maybe it's time for a new pair to reduce some of the stress there? Is it because you're overtraining? Is it because you're loading the thing in a way that there's something maintenance-wise you haven't been addressing? Those are probably the bigger questions, as David mentioned, that you need to address before you start to think about what exact shoe do I need. And then after that, it's going, why am I having this problem and what shoe might help kind of facilitate that? But again, it's going to be a short-term solution probably. Like the orthotic, you're probably going to need to address what's driving this.
Yeah, and I totally agree with y'all. And there isn't a shoe profile that's going to say this is the right shoe profile for plantar fascia pain. It's more like what is your runner profile right now? What are your aggravating factors? That will drive your shoe. So let's say you have pain at the toe off part of running or of walking. Maybe a more rigid forefoot with a rocker could help, because then you don't have to go through that windlass mechanism, maybe. So just depending on what is your mechanism of pain generation, match a shoe to limit that. Like if you're having a lot of pain barefoot, maybe having a shoe that allows a lot of motion, maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want something that's more structured, because then it can provide more stability for your foot, right? So like think about what situations are causing your issues. Maybe try a shoe that creates a new environment for your foot, kind of in the same way that there's a short-term benefit of like over-the-counter orthotics. In the same way, you could find the right shoe that, you know, does the deal, changes the environment in a way that decreases some of that soreness. So no silver bullet when it comes to shoes.